I can tell you this story. It's one of those things that just sort of happened, and it changed things for me at least. Maybe for her too. I hope so. My name's Mark and I run a little diner. Mark's Place. Not very original, I know, but it's honest, like the food. It's usually busy, especially mornings and lunch. I'm there most of the time, either cooking, wiping tables, or just making sure things are running smooth. It's my life, you know. Has been for nearly 20 years since my dad passed it down to me. This particular day, it was a Tuesday. Think. Late afternoon. The lunch rush was long over, and it was that quiet time before folks start thinking about dinner. I'd sent one of my waitresses, young Jenny, home early because it was so slow. I was just sipping a lukewarm coffee at the counter, looking over some invoices, thinking I needed to get to the grocery store myself. So, I lock up the diner a little earlier than usual and head over to Good Groceries, the local supermarket. It's not one of those fancy mega stores, just a regular place where most folks in town shop. I grabbed a basket thinking about what I needed. Milk, eggs, coffee for the diner, maybe some ground beef for tomorrow's special. I was in the checkout line, just a couple of people ahead of me. There was an older lady, Mrs. Henderson, who always bought a week's worth of cat food, and then there was this young woman. I hadn't seen her around before, or if I had, I didn't recognize her. She looked tired, really tired, like the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. She had a little girl with her, maybe 4 or 5 years old, with bright blonde pigtails clutching a worn-looking teddy bear. The little girl was quiet, just watching everything with big, serious eyes. The woman didn't have much in her cart: a loaf of bread, a small jar of peanut butter, some cheap noodles, a carton of milk, a couple of apples. Basic stuff. The kind of stuff you buy when you're counting every penny. I know that look. I've seen it on people's faces before, and heck, I've felt it myself in the early days of running the diner, wondering if I'd make payroll. She started putting her items on the conveyor belt. Her hands were shaking a little. The little girl leaned against her leg, and the woman put a hand on her head. A small, almost unconscious gesture of comfort. The cashier, a teenager named Kevin who I knew from the neighborhood, started scanning. Beep, beep, beep. The total came up on the little screen. I wasn't really paying attention to the exact amount, just sort of waiting my turn. The woman reached into her purse, pulled out a worn wallet, and took out a card. She slid it into the machine. Kevin waited. Then that awful little sound, a sort of sad electronic chirp that means declined. The woman's face, which was already pale, seemed to lose even more color. "Oh," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Try it again, please." Kevin, to his credit, was polite. "Sure thing." He ran it again. Same sad chirp. I don't understand," she stammered, her eyes darting around, avoiding looking at anyone. "There should be money in there." Her hand went to her mouth, and I could see the panic rising in her eyes. The little girl looked up at her mom, her brow furrowed with worry. "Maybe try a different card?" Kevin suggested, trying to be helpful, but his voice was a bit too loud in the suddenly quiet checkout aisle. The woman fumbled in her purse again, but I had a feeling she didn't have another one. Her shoulders slumped. I don't have another one right now." The line behind me was starting to get a little longer. I could feel a couple of people shifting impatiently. That's the thing about public embarrassment. It's contagious. You feel it even if it's not happening to you. "Well," Kevin said, looking a bit awkward himself, "you could maybe take some items off." The woman looked at the small pile of groceries. Her eyes landed on the milk, then the apples. You could almost see her calculating, trying to figure out what she could possibly live without. It was heartbreaking. The little girl, sensing her mom's distress, started to sniffle. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice quavering. That little whimper, man, it just cut right through me. The woman's eyes welled up. She blinked hard, trying to stop the tears. "Okay," she said, her voice thick. "Take off the apples and maybe the peanut butter." I couldn't just stand there. I've got a daughter myself, grown now, but I remember when she was little. I remember worrying about providing for her. No kid should see their mom have to make choices like that. not over a couple of apples and some peanut butter. So, I stepped forward. "Excuse me," I said, trying to keep my voice gentle. The woman flinched, like she expected to be scolded or something. She turned, her face flushed bright red, tears now openly streaming down her cheeks. The little girl hid behind her mom's legs. "I'll get it," I said to Kevin. Kevin looked surprised. The woman stared at me, her mouth slightly open. "What? No, I can't let you—" "It's okay," I said, pulling out my wallet. "Really, it's not much, just let me cover this for you." I smiled, trying to be reassuring. "My treat." She just kept staring like she couldn't process it. "But why?" she whispered. I shrugged. "Because sometimes we all need a little help, and your little girl looks like she could use those apples." I winked at the little blonde head peeking out. Kevin, who had been watching this whole exchange, just nodded and said, "Okay, sir." He canceled the previous transaction and rang it all up again. It wasn't much, maybe $15, $16. I tapped my card, approved. "Here you go," Kevin said, bagging the groceries. The woman was still rooted to the spot, tears silently tracing paths down her face. I don't know what to say," she finally managed, her voice choked. Thank you so much." "You're welcome," I said, meaning it. "Don't worry about it." I picked up my own basket. "Merry Christmas a little early, huh?" I tried for a light tone. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "You're very kind." And that, I thought, would be that. A small act of kindness. I'd feel good about it for a bit. She'd have her groceries and we'd both go on with our lives. It's what most people would expect, right? Someone steps in, pays, everyone moves on. But as she was gathering the bags, her hands still trembling, something else occurred to me. It was a bit of a long shot, maybe even a crazy idea. But looking at her, at that raw desperation mixed with a sort of dazed gratitude, I thought about the help wanted sign I'd been meaning to put in the diner window for weeks. My regular dishwasher, old Sal, had finally retired, and I'd been making do with part-timers and doing a lot of it myself. It was getting old, and my back wasn't what it used to be. So, here's the part no one expected. Not her, not Kevin the cashier, and honestly, not even me until the words were halfway out of my mouth. "Listen," I said, as she turned to leave with her little girl. "This is going to sound a bit out of the blue, but are you looking for work?" She stopped dead in her tracks and turned back to me, her eyes wide with surprise. "Work?" "Yeah," I said, feeling a bit awkward now that I'd said it out loud. "I own the diner down the street, Mark's Place, maybe you've seen it?" She nodded slowly. "I think so. Well, I'm looking for someone, kitchen help mostly. Washing dishes, some food prep. It's not glamorous, but it's steady. And I pay fair wage." I hesitated, then added, "And you'd get a meal on your shift." That last bit just sort of popped out thinking about those groceries. She looked completely stunned, like I'd just started speaking Martian. You're offering me a job?" "I am," I confirmed. "If you're interested, you could come by. Tomorrow morning, say around 9, we can talk about it. No pressure, of course." The little girl who had been silent tugged on her mom's jeans. "Mommy, what's a diner?" The woman looked down at her daughter, then back at me. A flicker of something, hope maybe, crossed her face, chasing away some of the despair. Yes, I'm interested. Very interested." She paused, then said, "My name is Sarah, and this is Lily." "Nice to meet you, Sarah." "And Lily," I said, smiling at the little girl who gave me a shy smile back. "I'm Mark." "Thank you, Mark," Sarah said, and this time her voice was stronger. "For the groceries, and for this. I'll be there tomorrow at 9. "Great," I said. "See you." Then, she picked up her bags, took Lily's hand, and walked out of the store. I watched them go, a strange feeling settling in my chest. It was more than just the warm glow of doing a good deed. It was something else, something bigger maybe. Like I'd nudged a door open, and now I was curious to see what was on the other side. I paid for my own stuff, said bye to Kevin, who was looking at me with a newfound respect, or maybe just plain confusion. As I walked to my car, I started to wonder if I'd done the right thing. Offering a job to a complete stranger, someone I knew nothing about, based on a gut feeling in a grocery store checkout line. It wasn't exactly my usual way of hiring. My dad would have called me soft-headed. But then I thought of Sarah's face, that mix of shame and relief, and little Lily, with her serious eyes. No, I thought. It felt right. Sometimes you just have to trust that feeling. The next morning I was at the diner by 6, like usual. Got the coffee brewing, started prepping for the breakfast crowd. Martha, my head waitress who's been with me since my dad's time, came in around 7. "Morning, Mark. You're looking thoughtful," she said, tying on her apron. Martha doesn't miss much. "Morning, Martha. Just got a few things on my mind." I told her about what happened at the grocery store and that Sarah might be coming in. Martha listened, pouring herself a coffee. When I was done, she just nodded. "Well, we sure could use the help in the back. Sal's absence is felt, especially when the lunch rush hits." She took a sip. "Good on you, Mark. Not many would do that." That made me feel a bit better. Martha's approval meant a lot. She's got a good head on her shoulders. 9 o'clock rolled around. The breakfast rush was thinning out. I was starting to wonder if Sarah would actually show. Maybe she'd thought it over and decided it was too strange, or maybe she'd found something else. Then the bell over the diner door jingled, and there she was. Sarah. She looked different. Still tired, but her hair was neatly combed and she was wearing clean, though obviously well-worn clothes. She looked nervous, clutching her purse tightly. Lily wasn't with her. "Hi, Mark," she said, her voice a little shaky. "Sarah, hi, come on in," I said, trying to sound casual and welcoming. "Glad you made it. Coffee?" "Oh, yes, please. That would be lovely." I poured her a cup and led her to a booth in the corner. "So," I began, "like I said yesterday, I'm looking for someone for the kitchen. It's mainly dishwashing, especially during and after the rushes. But there's also some prep work, chopping vegetables, portioning things out, helping me get things ready for the day. It's not glamorous, like I said. Can be hot, busy, and you're on your feet a lot." She listened intently, nodding. "I understand. I'm a hard worker, Mark. I really am. I'll do whatever needs doing." "I don't doubt it," I said. "Do you have any experience in a kitchen?" She hesitated for a moment. "A little. I worked in a school cafeteria for a while, a couple of years ago. Before things got difficult." "Okay, that's good. So you know your way around a commercial dishwasher, probably?" "Yes, I do." A small smile touched her lips. "Tell me a bit about yourself, Sarah, if you don't mind. Where are you from? What brought you to town?" I tried to keep it light, not like an interrogation. She took a deep breath. "Well, Lily and we just moved here about a month ago. We were living with my sister in Clifton, but her husband lost his job, and their place is small. Just wasn't working out. I thought maybe we could make a fresh start here. I heard there might be more opportunities." Her voice faltered a little. "It's been harder than I expected to find something. My savings, well, they ran out faster than I thought." I could see the story in her eyes, the hope turning to worry, then to quiet desperation, the kind that led her to that moment in the grocery store. "I'm sorry things have been tough," I said. "This town can be good to people, but it can take a while to get on your feet." "I just want to be able to take care of Lily," she said, her voice earnest. "She's everything to me. I need to find a stable place for us to live. We're in a weekly rental motel right now, and it's not ideal." I nodded. Those places weren't cheap in the long run, and definitely not a great environment for a little kid. "The job," I said, getting back to business. "It's full-time if you want it, 40 hours a week. We're open 7 days, but I can give you 2 consecutive days off. Pay is $12 an hour to start, plus that free meal on shift I mentioned. After 3 months, if everything's working out, we can look at a raise." Her eyes widened. $12, really? "Yep, and I pay weekly every Friday." She looked down at her coffee cup, then back up at me. There were tears in her eyes again, but this time they looked like tears of relief. Mark, that would change everything for us. Are you sure? I mean, you barely know me. I have a good feeling, Sarah, I said, and I did. There was a strength in her underneath the weariness, a determination, and like Martha says, we really need the help. I won't let you down, she said, her voice firm. I promise. When can I start? How about tomorrow morning? Say 8 o'clock? That'll give you time to meet Martha and Jenny, learn the ropes before it gets too crazy. Tomorrow sounds perfect, she said, a genuine smile finally lighting up her face. It made her look younger, less burdened. We talked for a few more minutes, working out some details about her shifts, what she should wear. I told her, comfortable. Shoes were a must. She thanked me again. So many times I lost count. When she left, I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Martha came over. So, she taking the job? Yep. Starts tomorrow. Martha grinned. Good, my hands are getting tired of scrubbing pots after Sal left. She paused. You did a good thing, Mark. A really good thing. I just shrugged, but inside I felt good. Really good. Like maybe, just maybe, this was one of the best hires I'd ever made. Sarah started the next day, right on time. She was quiet at first, a little shy, but she listened carefully to everything Martha and I showed her. She was a quick learner. The dish pit in a busy diner isn't for the faint of heart. It's hot, steamy, noisy, and the dishes just keep coming. But Sarah, she just buckled down and got to it. She didn't complain, not once. By the end of her first shift, she was tired, sure, but she was also smiling. How was it? I asked as she was getting ready to leave. It was good, she said. Hard work, but good. Thank you again, Mark. You earned your pay today, Sarah, I told her. Go get some rest. Over the next few weeks, Sarah settled in. She became part of the rhythm of the diner. She was always on time, always willing to do whatever was asked. She started to open up a bit more, chatting with Martha and Jenny. During the slower moments, I learned she was a widow. Lily's dad had died in a car accident a couple of years back. That explained a lot about her struggles. She was trying to be both mom and dad to Lily, with no family support nearby. She was meticulous with her work. The dishes came out sparkling. The prep station was always clean and organized. She even started anticipating what I'd need before I asked. If she finished the dishes, she'd start chopping onions for the next day's soup, or refilling the few. Salt and pepper shakers. Little Lily started coming by the diner sometimes after her preschool program ended. Sarah had found a small church-run preschool that took Lily for a few hours each morning. Lily was a sweet kid, still shy, but she'd sit in a booth with a coloring book while Sarah finished her shift. Martha would always slip her a cookie, and I'd make her a special small glass of chocolate milk. Her little giggles started to become a familiar sound in the late afternoons. One day, about a month after Sarah started, she came to me looking nervous. Mark, can I talk to you for a minute? Sure, Sarah, what's up? We were in the lull after lunch. Well, she began, twisting her apron. I found an apartment. A small one, but it's clean and safe, and it's near a good school for Lily for next year. That's great news, Sarah, I said, genuinely happy for her. Congratulations. Thank you. The thing is, the landlord needs first month's rent and a security deposit. I have most of it saved up from my paychecks here, but I'm still a little short, about $200 short. She looked down. I was wondering, and please say no if it's not possible, if I could get a small advance on my pay. I thought about it for a second. It wasn't something I usually did, but Sarah wasn't just any employee. She'd proven herself to be reliable, hardworking, and honest. You know what, Sarah? I said. Let's call it an early bonus for being such a great addition to the team. You don't have to pay it back. Her eyes filled with tears. Mark, I can't accept that. An advance is one thing, but hey, I said gently. You work hard. Here, you deserve it. Consider it an investment in a good employee and a good future for you and Lily. I smiled. Go get that apartment. Make it a home. She hugged me then, a quick, tearful hug. Thank you, she whispered. You have no idea what this means to us. Oh, I think I did. I remembered what it was like to struggle, to worry about a roof over your head. The next Monday, Sarah came in beaming. We moved in over the weekend, she announced. Lily loves it. She has her own little corner for her toys. That's wonderful, Sarah, I said. The change in her was remarkable. With a steady job and a safe place to live, she seemed to shed years of worry. She smiled more, laughed more easily. She even started making suggestions for the diner, a new soup recipe she knew, a more efficient way to organize the walk-in cooler. And she was good. Her soup recipe became a customer favorite. Life at Mark's place settled into a comfortable routine, but it was a better routine. Sarah was a rock in the kitchen. Martha and Jenny adored her. Even some of the regular customers got to know her a little, especially the ones who came in later in the day when she was sometimes helping bus tables if it was busy. They liked her quiet, gentle manner. One afternoon, little Lily was coloring at her usual booth. I was doing paperwork at the counter. Lily looked up and said, "Mr. Mark, can I draw you a picture?" "I'd love that, Lily," I said. She scribbled away for a while with her crayons, tongue sticking out in concentration. Then she proudly presented it to me. It was a drawing of the diner, with a stick figure me. I had a chef's hat, which I don't actually wear, but it was a nice touch. A stick figure Sarah in an apron, and a little stick figure Lily holding a teddy bear. Above it, she'd drawn a big yellow sun. "This is beautiful, Lily," I said, my voice a little thick. "This is the best picture of the diner I've ever seen. I'm going to hang it up." And I did. I put it right by the cash register where everyone could see it. Sarah saw it later and she just smiled, a soft, happy smile. Months passed. Autumn turned into winter. The holidays were approaching. The diner was always busy around Christmas time. People shopping, families in town. Sarah worked tirelessly, never complaining, always with that quiet competence. She'd even started training a new part-time dishwasher, a high school kid, showing him the ropes with patience and kindness. One evening, a few days before Christmas, we were closing up. It had been a long, hectic day. Sarah, Martha, and I were the only ones left. "You know, Mark," Martha said as she was hanging up her apron, "hiring Sarah was probably the smartest thing you've done since you decided to put my apple pie on the permanent menu." I laughed. "You might be right, Martha." Sarah blushed a little. "I'm just grateful for the chance you gave me." "Chance had nothing to do with it after that first week," I said. "You earned your place here, Sarah, more than earned it." We stood there for a moment in the quiet diner, the smell of coffee and old grease and something indefinably comforting in the air. The little Christmas lights I'd strung around the window twinkled. "Well," Martha said, "I'm heading home. You two don't stay too late. Merry Christmas, if I don't see you before." "Merry Christmas, Martha," we both said. After Martha left, Sarah turned to me. "Mark, Lily and we got you something." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small, awkwardly wrapped gift. "Sarah, you didn't have to do that," I said, genuinely surprised. "We wanted to," she said, her cheeks a little pink. "It's not much, but—" I took the gift. It was lumpy. I carefully unwrapped it. Inside was a hand-knitted scarf. It was a bit uneven in places, the stitches not quite perfect, but it was made with a beautiful, soft blue yarn. And it was clearly made with love. "Lily helped me pick the color," Sarah said softly. "She said it matches your eyes." I was speechless for a moment. I ran my hand over the soft wool. "Sarah, it's wonderful. Did you make this?" She nodded. "I used to knit a lot. It helps me relax." "It's beautiful," I said, and my voice was husky. "Thank you. Thank you both." I looked at her, standing there in my little diner. This woman who had walked in months ago, a stranger on the edge of despair. Now she was a friend, a valued colleague. She'd brought a warmth and a steadiness to my diner, and to my life, that I hadn't realized was missing. "Merry Christmas, Mark," she said. "Merry Christmas, Sarah." And in that moment, I thought back to that day in the grocery store, that simple decision to pay for her food. If I hadn't done that, our paths would never have crossed. If I hadn't, on a whim, offered her a job, her life and Lily's might be very different. And mine too, in a way. It wasn't just about giving someone a job. It was about seeing someone, really seeing them, and recognizing their worth even when they couldn't see it themselves. It was about kindness, sure, but it was also about connection. About how one small act can ripple out and change things in ways you never expected. That scarf? I wear it all the time in the winter. It's the warmest scarf I've ever owned. Not just because of the wool, but because of what it represents. It reminds me that sometimes the most unexpected things can lead to the best outcomes. And that, helping someone else up can lift you up too. Sarah still works at the diner. She's practically my assistant manager now, though she refuses the title. Lily is thriving in elementary school. A bright, happy kid. They have a little apartment that Sarah's made into a real home. Sometimes, on quiet afternoons, I still see Sarah look at Lily, and her eyes are full of such love and pride. It makes my old heart ache in a good way. And me? Well, I still run Mark's place, still serve up honest food, but the diner feels different now. It feels more like a family. And it all started because a woman couldn't pay for her food, and I did something that, at the time, even I didn't fully understand, but I'm sure glad I did. Yeah, I'm real glad I did. It taught me that you don't need to do something huge and dramatic to make a difference. Sometimes, just seeing someone and offering a hand is all it takes. And that, my friend, is a story worth telling.